Vítám vás všechny zde. I will try to somehow lead this unofficial meeting. We could call it like a round circle or a round table. Who wants it? We can imagine it like around the table. It is somehow a circle, half circle. My name is Kamil Bachovsky. I live here. I'm studying theater, acting. Yeah, acting. That's right. So I will try to somehow lead this unofficial meeting. I don't think we need to lead, but the first word. Someone has to have the first word, and I would like to call ambassador of Norwegian Kingdom to have a first word if you can.
Yeah.
The speech.
Well, thank you very much. Should I stand this way or?
It's a round table. You can.
As you wish.
So I look at you. You are the most important one. Well, thank you very much for an extraordinary and stunning performance. It was really, really good. It kind of touched my heart, really. As you know, although Ruth lived to only be 22, and she stayed only 3.5 years in Norway, she has really made a great impression on Norwegian and Norwegian society, I would say. That is two reasons for that, I think. The first reason, she was a very astute observer of what happened around her. Even from she was 13, when she wrote her diaries, she's really observing extremely well what is happening. And you saw how the Nazism was growing first in Central Europe and then in Norway. It also showed here, her friendship with Gunvor Hofmo, that she gave her diaries to before she was deported to Auschwitz. But the other reason why Ruth is well known in Norway is because she has become the symbol of the lack of protection that the Norwegian state actually gave the Jews during the Second World War. It was clearly the Nazi regime that was responsible for murdering the Jews. But it was Norwegian authorities that gave them the addresses. It was Norwegian authorities, actually the Norwegian police, that arrested them. And it was the Norwegians who brought them to this Donau ship that took them to Poland and then to Auschwitz. That wasn't talked about too much when I was young, but it has become clearer and clearer as we have new generations, telling the story about the Second World War. And it was against this background that by the then Norwegian Prime Minister, Jens Stoltenberg, as late as 2012, gave an official apology for the fact that the state hadn't done more to save our own citizens. I think it was in 2015 the then Prime Minister gave a similar excuse to the Roma people that we hadn't treated so well either before the war or during the war. But as important as accepting responsibility and apologizing for the wrongdoings, we have to learn from these experiences. And that, of course, what we are trying to do in Norway every day. And that, of course, what you have tried, or what you are actually done tonight by showing us this fantastic piece. So thank you very much. It has been a great experience.
Thank you.
Kind word. Yes.
May I ask a question? What was the reaction of the society to the apology of Stoltenberg?
Well, I think that was a fairly natural thing. I think people, the public, from what I remember, and there was a kind of feeling that this should have been done long before. We have this restitution in the 1990s. The government put down they looked into how they should kind of restitute the Jews for what's happening, and that group that looked into it, they split in two. Half of them thought, we'll only give them what's according to the law, and the other one said, well, this is morally wrongdoing. We must give them something much more. So it was a big debate in the 1990s, And then finally, the parliament decided that we did much more, and we even established a Holocaust Center in Norway, and we had restitution individually and to the group. So when this happened, you know, long time after in 2012, it was more or less should have been time. It should have been done for a long time ago. So I think that there wasn't many negative feelings at all. I think most people felt this was just right.
Yeah. I was asking because when Marta
Yeah.
made an apology for the expel of Germans
Yeah.
after the war,
Yeah.
there were many negative reactions.
Right.
Yeah. But by my feeling, both men are great statesmen. Thank you.
Right.
I would like to say that anyone can ask a question to somebody who would like to share some thoughts about performance or some topics that you would like to share with us or would like to talk about. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, it's the Viennese counterpart now to Oslo. Yeah. Although Ruth Meyer was Austrian, it needed a very long time after the publishing of the book in 2008 in German. There was some interest for it that lasted, let's say, 1 month or two, and that was it. And it needed another 10 years until 2017, and when the Documentation Center for Austrian Resistance made this exhibition, it was a cooperation with the Holocaust Center in Oslo. And I think this was the right way to go to the public and to connect different aspects of this story, the Norwegian aspect, the Austrian aspect, and also the Czech one. That was very, very important for us because before it was not a matter that was really very interesting for Jan Erik Vold. Jan Erik Vold was interested in other things, and he was without Jan Erik Vold we wouldn't know about this wonderful person. But the Czech side was not really observed at that time, and thanks to Willem, it was possible to include all that, and now we have a Czech translation. Yeah, and now we have a wonderful play. I'm very, very impressed.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What was the first impulse that you wanted to do the exhibition? Thanks, that's the word. That's the word. The exhibition.
It was a visit in Oslo in the Holocaust Center, and we talked about possible common projects between the Documentation Center for Austrian Resistance and the Norwegian Center for Holocaust and Minority Studies, and the thin library of the whole center said, yeah, we could do something about Ruth Meyer. And I must admit, I did not know her. She was so astonished and thought, no, it's not. You are a member of the staff of the Documentation Center for Austrian Resistance, and you do not know Ruth Meyer? That's impossible. Yeah, I was a little bit ashamed, of course. And maybe it was very useful for me that I put really great efforts in the whole project. And I think it became a good exhibition. We showed it at the Visitor Center of the United Nations in New York and on some other places. But the most places are in the Czech Republic, I think, where the exhibition was shown.
It was shown in Brno, then in Žarošice, then Olomouc.
Yeah, preparing Prostějov.
Yeah.
We tried something new last year. We made an update of that exhibition, and the main language now is not standard German, but simplified German, and it's for migrants who are learning German. And at the vernissage, at the opening, we had students of those schools where they learn German, and it was very interesting. And for them, we put another table, another panel to it about a family divided over 3 countries. The mother and the grandma still in Vienna, the youngest daughter in England, and the older daughter in Norway. And they told us, you must insert that, because it's a normal situation for the most of our clients here in that school. And so we did it, and I think it was a good thing. It's still shown in Vienna, and it migrates from one Volkshochschule to the other. And tomorrow, Ruth Meyer will be part of. There is a temporary exhibition in the Vienna City Hall. Every time on the 8th of March, pioneers, female pioneers, and every year 1 or 2 new names are added. And tomorrow, Ruth Meyer will be added to that.
Wow. Great news.
I just wanted to ask you, I mean, the younger generation here, what was your feeling? What was your feeling when you played it? Did you know anything about the story beforehand? Or, I mean, your reactions? I mean, you have actually played the piece.
I guess, if I can speak.
Yeah, you're the main person.
Yeah, but I don't have to speak all the time. I think that for most of us, the story, or like the first time when we kind of got touched by the story or get to know the story better, was when the director, Adela, brought us the actual book. Because for me, I didn't know before about the story, and also maybe because it's not that long time ago since it was published here, the book in Czech language. So it was really going through the book, getting to know the person, sometimes being upset about the person because we don't get the person, then we get her again, then we resonate with her, then we hate her again, and it's like that all the book, because since it's not some story which would be written as, okay, this is the story, but it's her thoughts, her feelings, and you kind of don't feel the filter there. She's like writing what she's writing. Yeah, I would also be sometimes shamed about my thoughts. So that was the first time for most of us, like getting to know her.
But did your generation know about the Jewish destiny during the war?
Yeah, of course. But
You were informed.
yeah, but we.
Before Ruta Meyer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but not directly about this person, about this woman with this big
Because
story.
perhaps I can tell you about our research. We started 2015 here in Brno, and we investigated 44 survivors of Holocaust and 88 second and 86 third generation. And third generation is your generation, who were born 30 to 50 years after the war. Still, there is a significant difference to the control group, the third generation. So third generation would be also one grandfather was Holocaust, not the rest of the family. But still, there is a psychological and also in functional magnetic resonance difference with the control group. So I don't know the fourth generation, but the third, your generation, is still under the influence of what happened.
So I'm reading the book, which I guess is like you, and it's a little bit why I'm here as well, because I mean I know you, but it's also reading the book, and there's an incredible softness and poetry, and a woman coming into age, and a sensuality that comes into it. And it's quite difficult, but I think you need to keep it a little bit separate from the hardness. It's like oil and water. You acted it beautifully. How you keep it separately, and then this rather beautiful bubble bursts at the end. And I think it's maybe her age. We don't have that many testimonies of that age. And I think it is still relevant, and one of the reasons is because it questions what it is to be Czech, what it is to be Austrian, and what it is to be Norwegian. And I'm here because I'm bringing back another character who's actually here this week, which is Oskar Schindler in Schindler's List.
Schindler.
Yeah, and his factory, which was our family's factory, is here, and I'm here with Thomas Keneally.
Svitavi.
In Svitavi, Thomas Keneally, who's never been back to the factory, which is Schindler's Ark, and it's in the Czech Republic. And I've left him in the hotel because I wanted to come and see this play. And I mean, one of the things it tells you there is who was he? You know, he's seen as a German, too simple, just a German industrialist, but he's born Austrian, so he should be your story. He grows up in the Czech Republic. There's no way he would have responded to the Jewish issue. He hadn't grown up in Moravia, where his Jews were neighbours, and he comes from a tradition from Jan Hus, Solder Schweig, where you can bring down a system a little bit from the inside. And yet, the question is it still relevant 30 years after the film, which is at this moment? And I think it's a similar question to yours, which is, what is it? What was it to be first generation Czech at that time, and then what is it to be Czech and Austrian now? And I also reacted very much to that first piece because I'm half. We had the factory and it was stolen by the Nazis and then by Oskar Schindler in 1938. So I'm only half Czech really, and I'm half British, and I'm half Jewish, and I'm European, and I don't really see it as a contradiction. I don't think you have to choose between being British and European and Jewish and Czech and German. In fact, the person who said that was probably was Hitler, and I think that comes into this. It comes very much as a beautiful piece, and we are building the final piece. We are building a theatre in the middle of the place of the factory where the events occurred, and on the 25th of June, we're going to show Schindler's List in the place where it occurred, and we think that makes a difference. And we would at some stage, we're going to keep the theatre there. We'd love to show this piece there at some stage, if there's a possibility, because you played it so beautifully. So thank you.
And so also, for me as for actor, of course, it was very interesting to discover some new topics, of course, and we have here a lot of topics. But I'm Ukrainian, and I'm Ukrainian refugee here, and for me it was very important also a topic about the war here, and I'm very glad that I know that a lot of spectators have the feelings and have this parallel with what's going on now. We have had this Nazism, now we have modern Nazism by Russians, and for me it was very important. In the summer we had some performance with Ukrainian group about the war, and then Adela was one director also in the summer, and she came to me and said we'll have new project with Czech students, and I want to invite you, but there will be also about refugees, and I understand her that she don't want to hurt me, her feelings, but I understand that the situation is another, and for me as for the actor it's very important to show this topic also.
May I have a comment? Because I'm performing also a research on Ukrainian stress. So we investigate. I have now 2 Ukrainian psychologists, refugees, who are working for me, and we tested 44 Ukrainian women refugees here in Brno, and we see very clear stress in all of them, and we see also changes in the brain in magnetic resonance recording. So it is different from Holocaust, because Holocaust is 70 years after the war. But now it is very evident that the stress is very strong. You don't see when you speak with Ukrainian girls, they look very well. But actually, by testing, you see that they are stressed.
Yeah, of course, everybody of us.
By the way, when you were speaking about Czech, Austrian, different, because there are plenty of Slovaks also here. In Slovakia, it was a little bit different, because in Slovakia, the deportations were in 42, but still there were some exceptions, because Slovakia didn't have doctors and pharmacists. So there were exceptions for doctors and pharmacists until 44. August 44, there was insurrection of Slovak army against the fascist state. It was occupied by German army, and then everybody was deported or they became partisans. But in Slovakia it was a little bit different, and I can tell you perhaps two bizarre stories. One of them is the Slovak writer, her name is Denisa Fulmeková, and she came also to our research. And she reported us that there was a priest, a Catholic priest, very important during the Slovak state. You know, the Slovak state president was a priest, Catholic priest, and he was very important, and he was a writer and poet, and in the Slovak army in Russia and so on. And in the end, after the insurrection in 44, he came to President Tiso and asked him to take out from the deportation a young lady because she was pregnant with him. And this was the grandmother of this Slovak writer who came to us. Or other story, called me a man and he presented himself as Göring, and that he is Jewish. And actually, then I looked at the history of the family, and he was son of Göring's brother, who worked in Pilsner. He was one of the director of Pilsner Školna Pillar, and he helped Jews to come to Switzerland. And so probably he was also a father or grandfather of this Jewish guy. And the Göring, the Marshal Göring, protected him, so he was not deported by the Gestapo.
Maybe, Willem, you could remember your story about Ostrava.
Yeah. You know, the exhibition which was done by Friedel, this was only about Ruth Meyer. And when I was in New York at the opening of the exhibition in UN, I got a small speech there, and I mentioned the fates of other members of our family Meyer, and this was the reaction of people, was the stimulation to make a second exhibition about other members of our family. And one of the stories is about Ostrava. The youngest daughter of Shimon Meyer married a teacher of a secondary school, and they moved to Ostrava. And their son studied law and was graduated already, and in the year 1939 came a man who was in the uniform of SS
Aber glauben früher, this was a high level of authority,
That's
middle high.
That's not sure.
That's your story.
And warn him that when he don't escape in the night, he will be arrested and deported. And that was the time of the first deportation of Jews in our country and in whole Europe. Some people judge it as the beginning of Holocaust. The official now is that it is the time when Nuremberg laws were in power. Yeah, and he took 2 friends and escaped to Poland and came to Britain. There they have waited 3 or 4 months for visa, and yeah, it is Stefan Körner. He has a page on Wikipedia. It's one of the best known philosophers of the 20th century. Yeah. And his daughter, an art one, is now cooperating with the new museum, Little Man here. Yeah. So, as you see, the man in the SS uniform probably was a pupil of his father. And who knows what motivated this man to own them.
I shortly would like to tell you anything, but in Czech, some of them will recognize why, for me, the only possibility is read it in Czech. And it was a theme for question for you. If you recognize why and what I'm reading just now, it was 20 sentences. Kindly, could you translate the... Prvního měsíce, zvaného Nisan, 12. roku krála Xerxe, nechal Haman házet půr, totiž los, aby vybral vhodný den a měsíc. Los připadl na 12. měsíc, zvaný Adar. Haman potom řekl králi Xerxovi: je tu jeden národ mezi národy všech provincií tvé říše, roztroušený, ale oddělený. Jejich zákony jsou od všech národů odlišné a královské zákony nedodržují. Není v králově zájmu nadále je trpět. Kdyby král ráčil, může se zeptat, ať jsou vyhlazeni. Osobně vyplatím správcům 10 000 talentů stříbra, aby je uložili do královských pokladnic. Na to si král sňal z ruky pečetní prsten a dal jej tomu židobíci Hamánovi, synu Hamadety Agagovce. Stříbro je tvé, řekl král Hamánovi, a stejně tak ten lid. Udělej si s ním, co chceš. 13. dne 1. měsíce byli svoláni královští písaři, přesně podle Hamanových pokynů se napsalo královým satrapům, místodržícím každé jednotlivé provincie a představitelům jednoho každého národa. Do každé provincie se psalo jejich písmem, jednomu každému národu jejich jazykem. Psalo se jménem krále Xerxe a pečetilo se královským prstenem. Do všech provincií říše byli vysláni poslové s listy. Všechny Židy, mladé i staré, ženy i nemluvňata, je třeba zničit, pobít a vyhladit, a to v jediný den, 13. dne 12. měsíce zvaného Adar. Co kdo po nich ukořistí, ať si nechá. Tento edikt bude zařazen mezi zákony v každé jednotlivé provincii a vyhlášen ve všech národech, aby se mohli na ten den připravit. Tanach, kniha Ester. Proč jsem to četl?
No. Ono se to ale nestalo, protože králová manželka byla židovka Ester a on to nevěděl, že je židovka. A když to mělo nastat, tak ona do toho vstoupila a nakonec byl Haman popravený.
A proč jsme to četli dnes? Protože dneska je Purim. Dneska je svátek Purim. To je ten svátek královny Ester.
Gave this order, but nothing happened because his wife was a Jew. So he's trying to make a parallel
Nejveselější židovský
them
svátek.
and
So this is the very oldest history. Can we see just now some similarities? I'm afraid that yes. We, Czech Moravian nations, are waiting still for our Stoltenberg. We have this person, this politician, and so as in past, the drivers were Norwegian, as Stoltenberg said. Also here was a lot of people which were the drivers, and we have our cars. We actively transport it. Who will tell? Sorry, might be one word should be enough, and that we. This translation of this book is an excellent book. Your excellent performance. This is our contribution. How to go on to look for the future. I would like to ask Ms. Krzysztofkova, which were your feelings when you started the translation, because it was not so simply as a simple translation as I know. What are your feelings?
For me, it was a special work because usually I translate from one language, but this book was set up by a Norwegian author, but the diaries were originally written in German. But luckily, I have studied German and Norwegian at the philosophical faculty here in Brno. So I was probably the only one person in the Czech Republic who could do this work. And it was really special because I translated the German parts from German, but I also compared them with the translated version, with the Norwegian version. And the parts which were written by Jan Erik Wolt were translated from Norwegian, so it was really special. But I'm curious, what do you think about the book? And if you prepare a performance based on a book, do you always read the book first? So have already of you read the book, the whole book? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's normal. All actors do that. So if they prepare a performance based on a book, or
sometimes there are reasons. I think every actor should read the book that the play is based on. But there are some. Sometimes it happens that maybe it's just inspiration from a book. So sometimes happens that it's better to not know the book because then you don't take all of the information from a book and you can be more open to what will happen on stage, what you will try to do, or you will try to perform or imagine in your head. What's the character look like? Or what the character could do, and not be based on the book, just by what's in your head, and it's something else actually. But then it's better to know the story and know what are you really doing. Yeah, that's good too, actually. But sometimes the books are so long that actors are not, they don't have minds to read all the pages. Yeah, so.
I think it also depends how do you want to work with that. Like in our case, it's at least okay. Let's say for me, it's like I read all the book, some parts like more times because I really needed to get it. And when we started to rehearse, I was like, yeah, I want to be directly like you were in the book. And then I was like, it's not possible. So you can take the inspiration and maybe even like the feeling of the person, because like especially from this book you can really feel how she felt, because from her words it's kind of obvious. But then it depends on you, like what kind of approach you have towards the character and what you want to do. Like maybe you want to take the craziness what the person have, or you want to take the pain and put it somewhere. Like, so I think it depends on each person. Like, what do you want from that?
How did it feel? Just a few people. How did it feel acting? Did it just feel sad? Did you feel she was a victim? Did it feel something that was historical, or was it something that spoke to you now? Just a few words, maybe even.
Yeah, I was trying not to get eaten by it.
Yes.
And I said because it's a really tough story, and if you personalize with that too much, that can hurt a lot, I think. But I think it's still good to feel some pain, to understand maybe the person a bit or the story. And then sometimes I was sad after the performance, because then like each performance is different. But now I guess I more take it like I'm not sad for this, even though it's crazy, and it's the same you were saying, like now what's happening, it has a big parallel, but I think that I'm more, I don't want to say happy, but grateful that Adela chose to do this topic, because then you're kind of giving the opportunity to other people to really see, and then I think it's less sad, because you're happy about the work, about the message, than that you would be sad about what's happening. You're kind of not okay with that, but you're like, okay, I'm taking it like this.
Anyone else? How did it feel with your?
For me, it was very difficult, because when we start rehearsals, I didn't know Czech. Like I know it on a base level, not even A1. So I read some parts of a book, try to understand this. Then I try to translate something. Then I found some parts in Russian, like in internet, some parts. Then I read in Ukrainian whole story of Ruth Meyer. So for me, it's not the whole book, but for me it's different parts from the history about Ruth Meyer. So, but of course, I feel it. I feel her story, and for me, when I read, for me it was very firstly important topic about like her, like about girl, like how she stands like a girl in these conditions of the war, and that she even didn't grow up at all, and for me it was sad. So for me, when I read, for me it was the main topic. Then when I started play, for me of course there were a lot of topics in my head, and what I want to show and what I want to play.
I'd like to say that the work with the book wasn't only reading, it was deeper, because because these girls of our department, we try to find links to their lives and to their diaries, to their feelings, to their memories. So we also work with their diaries, and we took out some texts of it. So the performance is a little mixture of these texts, but the main story, of course, is the root story.
Yeah, and I think the great deal of this text is that Ruth is in some cases very similar to us, like to nowadays not only girls, like young people, even though she was born like 100 years ago and she lived in a war, she still like dealt with topics such as, I don't know, problems with mother, problems with boys, girls, relationships, which is very similar to us. So it's quite interesting to compare some parts of her life with us.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear that your lives are not that much different from her life.
Like they are, but it was interesting to find that some parts of her life were very similar.
So just the context is different.
Yeah, the context is different, of course, but it's like it's crazy because when you imagine the victim of Shoah, you always see like you see the sad story, but I wasn't always seeing the people that had normal lives, or that they really lived through emotions like I did when I was 14. So maybe that's interesting.
So I have some difficulty with the word victim. You don't want to be in you don't want to be in that position. Any person, whether you're Jewish or Palestinian or Czech. But you say I think there's more chance with your generation. It sounds like you can tell the story because the previous generations failed. Huh? I mean, 2012 is late. 1994. So I think there's you said it beautifully. The way you can bring it to the present day. That don't let it eat you up. That's for sure. And
but mentality is changing.
For the there's a good chance in the next generation because the previous generations were unable to.
Looking at Ukraine. Ukraine was an anti-Semitic country. During the Second World War, there were SS groups, and now they elected a Jewish president. So it is a complete change.
Yeah.
Zelensky is Jewish.
Yeah. And our ex-president Poroshenko is also Jewish.
Yeah.
Yes. He changed his surname, like in 60s. His grandfather changed it on Ukrainian surname Poroshenko, but they were like some Jewish. So they had some Jewish surname.
So really the Ukrainian mentality changed completely.
Change, yes. Unfortunately, our history is not changing. That we always have to fight for our land, but our mind, of course, changing.
It's possible he's not the Secretary General of NATO. So. Jens Stoltenberg, the Prime Minister, that in 2012, you know how this. He's now the Secretary General of NATO.
Yeah.
So you can see how different people move to different places and have different roles.
Yeah, I would like to go back to the beginning of the discussion. And our family understands both apologies. The apology for not protecting Jews and the apology for expel of Germans. Because my family was both father's side and mother's side, both were Mischlings. Yeah? And they were persecuted at first by Nazis because there was a Jew, and then after the war they were almost expelled because they were German. And nothing helped that my mother had his father in Terezin, and my father had his mother in Terezin. So we understand both. Great statement for this apology.
I have a question for you. You were saying that it's like a very significant story for Norway, let's say. I would be interested if like nowadays it's being taught at schools, or is it like that actually like Norwegians know about this story, not only because the like sculpture is in Vigelands Park, but is it like well known, or is it something what sometimes it's being taught or known? What's the situation? If it's not a difficult question.
Yeah, well, Jan Edvold, he lives close to where I live, and my kids went to a school, and he was very kind of concerned about the fate of the Jews, and he also had this stuff at the school. They were like at a school, and he also told the story there. So I know from my own kids, it was taught in that school. But generally in the Norwegian school, how well known? I really don't know. I'm not that young, you see, so I can't really. But when I was young, it wasn't taught. I mean, there wasn't so much talking about the Jews and what had happened. But remember, this was before '95, though. But it's fairly well known now, I think. But maybe you know better than me. Maybe you know. But I know that both the sculpture in the Frogner Park, and they have a place, a square in Oslo, close to Engleham, where she used to live. That's called the Ruth Meyer Square, and it's I think it's generally well known, at least. But not only Ruth Meyer, but the whole thing that what happened to the Jews, that we didn't protect them. They were Norwegian citizens, and I mean, of course, one thing is that when they left, you know, some people were robbing their homes, but it was the Norwegian state that actually helped the Germans transport them to Auschwitz. I mean, that has really made a strong impression, I think, and we really feel very responsible for that, and I think also the younger generation kind of feel that.
It's a great suggestion, though, that you should teach it in the curriculum.
Yeah.
Because forgiveness isn't, you know, in Judaism you can't say I forgive. It doesn't make any sense. Huh? It's the when you get married you smash the glass, and you have to put the world back together. You know, that's all it is. That's the only sense of it. In little ways, you actually each marriage you do it, so you have to do it each time you get married. But in Norway, it is to, you know, in Denmark the Jews didn't. You know, Bulgaria, the Jews didn't die. In Denmark, they didn't die. In some of the countries, they did die. So you're in
Bulgaria, the Jews were
you have to ensure that it doesn't happen again, which is it's a very good. I've got confidence in their generation because they say you need to teach it in schools. So it's
but maybe I just corrected that half of the Norwegian Jews were taken to Sweden and to safety, but the other half was taken to Germany, and most of them were killed. I think
there were two countries where Jews were protected. The first is Denmark, where they went to Sweden by boat, and the other one was Bulgaria.
Yeah.
So with the story of Oscar Schindler's, it's a difficult one, and it's not easy, but you can stand up. It's a question, can you stand up? But there is a way of doing it, and that creates survivors who then tell their stories, which you've got here. I hate to say Ukraine is one of those examples. It's a difficult question, but you either accept fascism or you don't. And very much there aren't that many, and you need to. I mean, you need to teach it in your schools. And so the way we're doing our museum is we're taking school children from 5 countries, and they co-design how you would do it. And the last bit is, how do you map it to teach on a curriculum? Does it fit into history? Does it fit into political affairs? Sometimes it fits into English because you can learn a language in it. And what are the opportunities? Because, So I think you should take it back and look at more.
Yeah, I think it's taught more now, pretty sure. And also we have this Holocaust Center that's having a lot of visitors, thousands. I was just here earlier today at the Roma City Center you have here, I kind of get the same feeling that you're trying to teach your own population about actually what happened. So it's important.
I was just interested in the situation. Thank you.
And you all are students?
Oh.
Any more suggestions on what should be done with the just wondering what they think, because they know the next generation.
What should be done with the play?
Yeah, what should be done next with this play
in future?
Yeah.
What I think that what made sense for me also, we had here one time students like age 15, 16, am I right?
Yeah.
Like from the 7th. And after that there was a debate, because it was like a school class who came here for the performance, and then we could talk with them, which I think was really good, because I saw like what is in their mind. They wanted to share, they wanted to talk about it, and it was beautiful to see. Like I saw myself when I was 15, and nobody took me for this. So I was like, why nobody took me for something like this? Because it's actually happening. It's not happening only here, but it can be some interesting exhibition. It can be maybe some performance, because like the historical topics, it's not that seen that somebody is doing that, but it's actually happening. So like I think that this can be like one way, one line, what can like be good, like to invite schools. And like of course it's a bit difficult when everybody's finishing the studies, then it's not that easy, but like till it's time, it's I think a nice way how to communicate with the younger generation also, and get them like share with them the story and the history in some maybe more interesting way than just to sit in a class.
I just think that the important thing was also that they got a workshop before it, because if you just see the play, I asked my friends who saw the play, and just like, yeah, and what was this, and what was this? So there are some like things that you don't really get it at first, but then first if you get a workshop, then you get the performance, and then you can ask what it means or what they see in it. It's also the important thing.
I have one announcement for you here. Nobody knows. You said books are too long. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I understand you. For me, or for old men, I have time enough. My time is going very slowly. So I can read again. But in your age, it should be another way, of course. So we, I don't know which Miss Mrazkova from Albatros here, is gone. We decided to issue the book Ruth Meyer's Diary like a comics.
Oh, nice.
I would like to hear what's our meaning about this theme. It will be 100 hours of work, because we need some. At first we need funds. But it's not so big problem. The biggest problem is and was in this in the story of my Czech translation and book in Czech Republic, that a big medial house decided to issue a book. It is not a commercial theme. It was very, very hard discussed decision within the house, and we done it. So now we have next year might be all will be okay. We will try to issue. I am decided to issue it. And Albatros Media accepted. So it's the first time we announced this decision, and we would like to hear whether, if you remember, if you feel that it's a good idea, because our aim, my aim, let's say, is to inform your generation and young people, which are maybe 5-7 years younger, and you mentioned it, about the theme, and through the language and system of, and when you this message could be understandable. So it's your theme. Do you remember? It's a good idea, Mr. Stufko. It will be, of course, a discussion with you. You are announced the first time about this decision. So all must be discussed, of course, but the decision exists.
I have to add that we have from Jan-Erik Wold already his suggestion that he agrees with this. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? It's a good idea.
I actually whispered the same. Yeah, but I think it's a great idea to make the story to illustration version. They are all the illustration comics, because they made like a few years ago old story Kytice from Erben, from our old Czech traditional writer, and I think that could be an interesting way to tell the story, and even for some artists to make Ruth Meyer's story into the pictures. Why not?
I would be maybe a little bit afraid about some topics which seem very complex to me, and some of her thoughts were quite, huge, and I can't imagine putting it into a picture. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just can't imagine it because I didn't read much comic books. but yeah, maybe I would be afraid that some of the topics would not be as visible as they should be, because I think she's writing about many interesting things. So maybe there will be problem with putting all of them into that comic book.
I think that just you told that it is sometimes complicated and so on, and this should be more understandable for the young people.
Yeah.
That's the same.
The exhibition is the same. We had to shorten a thick book in 12 panels. So you have to omit, let's say, 90% of the most interesting parts of the diary. But I think even the rest, even the 10% are so interesting, and the most interesting thing for me was that many people, when they saw the exhibition, said, I have to buy that book. So they become interested in the whole story. And maybe you can do the same with a comic, but I also have some fear that people think that was the whole story.
Yeah.
When you see an exhibition, you know it's not the whole story, but the other thing is a book. And
yeah, I understand this the simplification. I know it's important for maybe people who don't have that much time, but on the other hand, I think that what is good about the book is that Ruth's thoughts are so complex and it's so surprising when you think about her age. So I was surprised that 15, 16-year-old girl could produce such great ideas, such great thoughts, and maybe that would be lost in the comic book, which would be a little bit shame, because I think it should also show that her mind was great, if you understand me.
On the other hand, when it is done well, it can attract to read the book.
Yes,
yeah, sure.
Exactly.
That's
to read
right.
the book and to look for the exhibition. Might be there exist 2 films. This is the starting point of the way to.
Yeah.
I have no illusion that more than 40–30% of our population are now ready to read a book 300 pages. Unfortunately, it's a fact. So I should go on the half of the way to those which do not know. The starting point. Maybe it's a bad way.
I don't know.
I just wanted to say that my
mom owns a bookshop, so I've grown surrounded by books my whole life, and I really like reading books. And my brother really likes comics, and I've seen myself and my brother getting to know about the same topics through these two different ways. And because my mom owns a bookshop, so you can kind of study or understand the clients and the type of people who buy books. And I think comics are definitely a really clever way to deliver information or topics to young people. And I think it's also a way of opening the curiosity. And about the comic, like not being able to tell maybe the whole story or the whole complexity of what's on the book. On one part it is like that, but on the other part I think it very much depends on how the artist works with the book, because there are also very clever ways of delivering that information into the form of images and combining the images with the words, and there I think it can be done.
Yeah, on the other hand, when you think about it, it's just like a performance in a theater. It's also interpretation.
Sorry. I'm sorry I interrupt this really interesting debate, but actually it will have to be closed here. So I'm really grateful for this conversation, this unofficial debate. So I'm officially ending this unofficial debate. So thank you. Of course, we can still talk about this topic or whatever is in your minds. We can still be on the bar. You will meet me here. So
The bar is still open.
yeah. So
Still 12.
you're welcome to be quiet.
We have an official